Birthdays are often moments of joy, reflection, and togetherness. For Emma Taylor, celebrating her 25th birthday with her closest friends at a remote mountain lake seemed like the perfect getaway. Nestled deep in the Selkirk Mountains of northern Idaho, the lake was known for its breathtaking views, crystal clear waters, and serene atmosphere. But on that fateful evening in June 2023, what began as a celebration of life transformed into a harrowing encounter with the wildest stark reminder of nature's unpredictable power. Emma, a spirited and adventurous young woman, had planned the trip months in advance. She invited 4 of her closest friends, Liam Carter, Rachel Evans, Tyler Bennett, and Sophie Parker, to join her for a weekend of hiking, camping, and stargazing. All 5 were avid outdoor enthusiasts, having explored trails and wilderness areas across the Pacific Northwest. The group set out on June 15th, 2023, carrying backpacks filled with gear, food, and supplies for their 2-night stay at the secluded lake. The 8-mile hike to the campsite was challenging but rewarding, with steep inclines and switchbacks leading to panoramic views of the surrounding mountains. By mid-afternoon, they reached the lake, its calm waters reflecting the towering peaks above. After pitching their tents and setting up camp near the shoreline, the group spent the rest of the day fishing, swimming, and basking in the natural beauty around them. As dusk approached, they gathered around a campfire to roast marshmallows and share stories, their laughter echoing across the quiet wilderness. While the friends enjoyed their evening, they were unaware that a mother black bear and her 2 cubs were foraging less than half a mile away. Black bears are typically shy creatures, avoiding humans whenever possible. However, mothers with cubs can become fiercely protective if they perceive a threat, even when none is intended. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the firelight flickered against the darkening forest. The scent of food wafted through the air, a tempting aroma for any nearby wildlife. Although the group had stored their main food supplies in a bear-proof container, a few stray crumbs and the sizzling marshmallows were enough to draw the bear's attention. At around 9:15 p.m., as the friends were chatting and toasting Emma's birthday, Liam suddenly froze. "Do you hear that?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The group fell silent, straining to listen. Faint rustling sounds came from the nearby woods, growing louder with each passing second. Before anyone could react, the massive silhouette of a bear emerged from the shadows, her cubs trailing a few paces behind. The bear stood still for a moment, her nose twitching as she sniffed the air. Then, with an alarming growl, she charged directly toward the campfire. Chaos erupted. Rachel screamed, dropping her marshmallow stick as she scrambled to her feet. Tyler grabbed the bear spray from his pack, fumbling to remove the safety cap. Emma and Sophie ran toward the edge of the lake, hoping to put distance between themselves and the bear. But Liam, caught off guard and closest to the bear's path, tripped over a fallen log as he tried to retreat. The mother bear, perceiving Liam's movements as a threat to her cubs, focused her attention on him. With incredible speed and force, she reached him before he could rise. The friends watched in horror as the bear growled and swiped at him, pinning him to the ground. Tyler managed to deploy the bear spray, aiming a cloud of the deterrent toward the bear. The strong, peppery scent momentarily disoriented the animal, causing her to retreat a few steps. Seizing the opportunity, the group shouted and banged on pots in an attempt to scare her off. But the bear's protective instincts were too strong. She lunged forward again, grabbing Liam by the leg and dragging him toward the woods. His friends screamed and ran after her, their flashlights slicing through the darkness, but the bear quickly disappeared into the dense underbrush. Terrified and shaken, the group regrouped near the campsite. Tyler used his satellite phone to call emergency services, providing their coordinates and describing the situation. Rangers and wildlife officials were dispatched immediately, but given the remote location, they would take hours to arrive. In the meantime, the friends ventured cautiously into the woods, shouting Liam's name and hoping to frighten the bear away. The forest was eerily silent, the only sounds their own hurried footsteps and heavy breathing. After about 20 minutes of searching, they found a trail of disturbed leaves and paw prints, leading deeper into the wilderness. Fearing further confrontation with the bear, they reluctantly retreated to the campsite and waited for the rescue team. The hours that followed were agonizing, filled with a mix of fear, guilt, and helplessness. The rescue team arrived in the early hours of June 16, 2023, armed with bear deterrent equipment and tracking dogs. By dawn, they located Liam about a quarter mile from the campsite, alive but severely injured. He had suffered multiple lacerations and was hypothermic from the chilly night spent in the woods. Rangers noted that the bear had not returned to finish the attack, likely deterred by the group's initial efforts and the lingering scent of bear spray. They also confirmed that Liam's injuries, while serious, were non-life-threatening, a testament to his incredible resilience and the group's quick thinking. Liam was airlifted to a nearby hospital, where he underwent surgery and began the long road to recovery. The mother bear and her cubs were not pursued, as officials determined the encounter was defensive rather than predatory. The celebration that began as a joyful birthday gathering turned into a harrowing ordeal, leaving Emma and her friends with an unforgettable memory of the wilderness's raw power. Liam's survival was a testament to his friends' bravery, their preparedness, and the swift response of emergency services. For Emma, the trip became more than just a celebration of her 25th birthday. It was a reminder of the delicate balance between humans and nature. As she reflected on the experience, she realized that while the wilderness offers unparalleled beauty and adventure, it also demands humility, respect, and vigilance. Story 2. Hunting, a pursuit deeply rooted in tradition and survival, often pushes individuals to the limits of skill, courage, and respect for nature. For Daniel Graves, a 42-year-old seasoned hunter from Kalispell, Montana, the wild was both his sanctuary and his challenge. Known in the local hunting community for his precision and patience, Daniel had long sought an elusive goal, a record-sized grizzly. On September 14, 2023, Daniel embarked on what he believed would be his crowning achievement. The vast, rugged landscape of the Bob Marshall Wilderness, with its deep canyons and dense pine forests, provided the perfect stage for his quest. Yet, as the day unfolded, Daniel's pursuit of a massive grizzly became a cautionary tale of hubris, underestimation, and the untamed cunning of the wild. Daniel had spent months tracking a particular grizzly, rumored to be one of the largest ever seen in the region. Local guides and hunters shared tales of its immense size, estimating its weight at nearly 900 pounds. It was said to roam a remote canyon known as Shadow Gorge, a foreboding stretch of wilderness untouched by roads or modern infrastructure. Equipped with a high-powered rifle, a GPS device, and supplies for a multi-day trek, Daniel ventured into the gorge alone. Solitude was his preferred way of hunting. It allowed him to focus entirely on his prey. With years of experience under his belt, he was confident in his abilities to outwit even the most intelligent of bears. By mid-afternoon, Daniel caught his first glimpse of the grizzly. From a ridge overlooking a meadow, he watched as the massive bear foraged among huckleberry bushes. Its sheer size was breathtaking, its dark fur rippling with each powerful movement. Daniel steadied his rifle, his pulse quickening. This was the moment he had prepared for. As the grizzly moved into the open, Daniel aimed for a clean shot to the chest. He exhaled slowly, squeezed the trigger, and fired. The crack of the rifle echoed through the canyon, scattering birds into the sky. But something was wrong. Instead of collapsing, the bear reared up on its hind legs, roaring in pain and fury. Daniel's shot had struck its shoulder, wounding it but failing to deliver a fatal blow. The grizzly bolted into the dense underbrush, disappearing from sight. Daniel cursed under his breath. A wounded bear was unpredictable and dangerous. He debated his next move. Leaving the bear to suffer wasn't an option, but tracking it through Shadow Gorge was fraught with peril. After a brief pause, he decided to follow the blood trail, believing he could finish what he started. The trail was faint at first, marked by sporadic drops of crimson on the forest floor. As the hours passed, it became clear that the bear wasn't retreating aimlessly, it was leading him deeper into the labyrinthine canyon. What Daniel failed to consider was the grizzly's cunning. Bears, particularly those that have encountered hunters before, are intelligent creatures capable of understanding danger and adapting to it. This grizzly wasn't running, it was luring. As twilight descended over the canyon, the blood trail grew harder to follow. Shadows danced between the trees, and the forest grew eerily silent. Daniel's instincts told him to stop and set up camp for the night, but his determination pushed him forward. By the time the sun dipped below the horizon, Daniel found himself in the heart of Shadow Gorge. The dense fog that often blanketed the canyon after dark began to roll in, reducing visibility to mere feet. He switched on his headlamp, its narrow beam cutting through the mist. Unbeknownst to him, the grizzly had circled back. Now the hunter was the hunted. The first sign of the grizzly's presence was a low, guttural growl that seemed to vibrate through the air. Daniel froze, his rifle at the ready. He scanned the foggy forest, his heart pounding. Then, from his left, the massive bear emerged, charging through the mist with startling speed. Daniel barely had time to react. He raised his rifle and fired, but the shot went wide, striking a tree. The grizzly was on him in an instant, its sheer size and strength overwhelming. Daniel fought back with everything he had, using his rifle as a makeshift barrier. The bear swiped at him, knocking the weapon from his hands and forcing him to the ground. In the struggle, Daniel reached for his hunting knife. He swung it wildly, managing to graze the bear's thick hide. The grizzly roared in anger but paused momentarily, as if assessing its adversary. This brief hesitation gave Daniel a chance to scramble to his feet and retreat toward a large boulder. For the next several hours, Daniel found himself in a desperate game of cat and mouse. The grizzly stalked him through the canyon, using the cover of darkness and fog to its advantage. Each time Daniel tried to find higher ground or escape the gorge, the bear would reappear, blocking his path. Exhausted and injured, Daniel finally climbed onto a narrow ledge, wedging himself between two large rocks. The bear prowled below, its glowing eyes visible in the moonlight. It growled intermittently, a chilling reminder of its presence. Daniel's only hope was to wait for daylight, when the rescue team he had notified before his trip would begin searching for him. As the hours dragged on, he focused on staying awake and alert, clutching his knife and praying the bear wouldn't find a way to reach him. At dawn, the faint sound of a helicopter echoed through the canyon. The grizzly, perhaps sensing the arrival of more humans, retreated into the forest. Daniel's GPS device had transmitted his location, guiding the rescue team to his position. Weakened but alive, Daniel was airlifted out of Shadow Gorge and taken to a nearby hospital. He suffered from multiple lacerations, a fractured arm, and severe exhaustion, but made a full recovery. For those who venture into the wilderness, his tale serves as a cautionary example of the importance of preparation, humility, and reverence for the untamed world. Nature, after all, is not a battlefield to conquer, it is a realm to navigate with care, respect, and awe. Story 3. The allure of the wilderness often calls to those yearning for peace, adventure, or the charm of a rustic lifestyle. For David and Claire Henderson, both in their early 30s, the idea of restoring an abandoned cabin nestled in the heart of the Rocky Mountains represented not only a labor of love, but also a dream of escaping the chaos of city life. On October 28, 2023, they stood hand in hand on the porch of the weather-beaten structure, marveling at the endless forest that surrounded them. The cabin, though neglected, seemed full of potential. They had plans to turn it into a cozy retreat, a testament to their hard work and shared passion for nature. What they didn't know was that their dream cabin already had a resident, a hibernating black bear, tucked away in the crawl space beneath the floorboards. Disturbing it would set off a chain of events that turned their dream into a harrowing nightmare. The cabin had been abandoned for over a decade, left to the mercy of the harsh mountain winters. Its roof sagged, the windows were shattered, and layers of dust coated the wooden floors. Despite its state, David and Claire were undeterred. Armed with tools, a generator, weeks of supplies, they were ready to bring the cabin back to life. Their first task was to clear debris and inspect the foundation. Beneath the cabin was a small crawl space accessible through a weathered wooden hatch on the side. David, Ever the optimist, volunteered to investigate while Claire worked on clearing the kitchen. Sliding into the crawl space, flashlight in hand, David was struck by the cold, damp air. The space was cramped, with cobwebs clinging to the beams and piles of decayed leaves scattered across the dirt floor. Near the far corner, his light landed on a peculiar mound, something large and dark, partially obscured by debris. Unbeknownst to him, the mound was a hibernating black bear, sluggish but far from dormant. As David crawled closer to inspect, the beam of his flashlight disturbed the bear. It shifted slightly, its massive bulk causing the leaves to rustle. David froze, a chill creeping up his spine. "Claire," he called, his voice tense. "I think there's something alive down here." Before Claire could respond, a low, guttural growl echoed through the crawl space. David's instincts kicked in, and he scrambled backward, his heart pounding. Emerging from the hatch, he slammed it shut and backed away, his face pale. "It's a bear," he gasped, his voice barely audible. Claire's eyes widened in disbelief. "A bear? Under the cabin?" David nodded, his mind racing. Hibernating bears were typically lethargic, but disturbing one was a dangerous gamble. They decided to leave the bear alone and call wildlife authorities the next day, but fate had other plans. The disturbance had left the bear agitated. Later that evening, as the couple prepared dinner, the bear began to stir. The sounds of heavy movement beneath the cabin made the floorboards creak. David and Claire exchanged nervous glances, realizing their proximity to a wild animal was far closer than they had anticipated. Suddenly, there was a crash as the bear burst through the hatch. Its massive frame tore through the fragile wooden boards, sending splinters flying. The cabin filled with the scent of earth and fur as the bear roared, its primal fury shaking the walls. David reacted instinctively, grabbing a cast-iron skillet from the stove. "Claire, get out," he shouted, positioning himself between her and the bear. Claire hesitated, fear rooting her to the spot. The bear lunged toward David, who swung the skillet with all his strength. The sound of metal meeting fur and muscle rang out, but the bear barely flinched. David knew they couldn't both escape. He shouted at Claire to run, his voice breaking with urgency. "Go, now." Claire stumbled toward the door, tears streaming down her face. She glanced back to see David holding his ground, the skillet raised like a shield. The bear reared up, its massive form towering over him. With a final plea for her to flee, David confronted the bear, buying Claire the precious seconds she needed to escape. She ran into the forest, her breath ragged and her heart shattering with every step. From the trees, she could hear the sounds of the struggle, a symphony of roars, crashes, and David's shouts fading into the distance. Claire didn't stop running until she reached the main road, nearly 2 miles from the cabin. There, she flagged down a passing vehicle, her frantic explanation prompting the driver to call authorities. A rescue team arrived hours later, armed and prepared to handle the bear. When they entered the cabin, they found the bear had retreated back to the crawl space. Its rage subsided. David, however, had suffered severe injuries. Though his injuries were life-altering, David had survived, thanks to his courage and determination. He was airlifted to a nearby hospital, where he underwent multiple surgeries to recover from his wounds. The bear was tranquilized and relocated to a remote area far from human habitation. Wildlife experts noted that the bear's behavior was not abnormal, it had simply reacted to a perceived threat. For David and Claire, the experience was life-changing. They sold the cabin, unable to return to the site of their nightmare. Yet their bond grew stronger, forged in the crucible of their shared ordeal. Yet, their experience also highlights the resilience of the human spirit and the importance of preparedness when venturing into the untamed wild. For those who seek solace in nature, their story serves as a cautionary tale. The wilderness is beautiful, but it is also wild, demanding respect, caution, and a profound appreciation for the balance between humans and animals. If you found this video insightful, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for the latest videos on wildlife safety, survival tips, and fascinating animal stories. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next one.